Join us for a review of the all-new Mercedes GLA. Let's go! The new Mercedes GLA has a strong appearance in the front. It's already sassy in the front. I am more of an SUV now. And indeed, well, it's a little bit wider than before. Wheelbase has been increased just a little bit. And different front grills are available. This one here, based on the AMG line with this diamond pin grille right there. This is so-called Edition or Edition 1, a special launch model, but it's based on the AMG line, so most of the things are actually AMG line, you see. Option, you can get LED lamps. This one here, the optional multi-beam LED lamps with a high beam function as well. And the grey Magno color, a very beautiful one, the matte color. Always a very special one, and yeah, probably one I would also consider. 4.41 meters, 14 foot 5 or 174 inches is the length of the new Mercedes GLA. That's a little bit increased in wheelbase, as I already said, if you compare it to the predecessor, but the overhang is a little bit shorter. Pretty interesting. And if you compare it now to the Mercedes GLB, which would be the bigger brother, this one here is still 22 centimeters or 9 inches shorter. But the wheelbase is identical to the Mercedes B-Class and the Mercedes A-Class. You could so say it's like a put-up B-Class or a way put-up A-Class, but we'll see more about that on the interior. Exterior-wise, you can see that design has been modified, that it's more SUV now, crossover wheel arches, 17 to 20-inch wheels. These are the biggest ones, 20-inch wheels for the normal models. The AMG would then come from 19 to 21 inch. Here also with the red contrast here in the normal wheel style. So again, AMG line, sportier look definitely. You will have more comfort if you go for smaller wheels, of course. And now to the rear with the common design trend of more horizontally drawn tail lamps, but I think looks quite modern then. Actually has the shape also of the other bigger SUVs at Mercedes. And then there's this chrome design element right there, and also chrome exhaust, not really exhaust tips. Fake exhaust police. Yeah, that's a pure fake exhaust. And also on the other side, the real exhaust underneath. Yeah, and the AMG line has this diffuser here in the lower part. So what's the design take? Then this styling from this launch model is with red contrast stitches and so on. So you can see it also with the sporty steering wheel, for example. That is also similar in the normal AMG line. Also then with the aluminum pedals in the lower area. So they are also quite fancy, of course, typical AMG line style. Seating position here is actually quite upright. You sit 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches higher than in the Mercedes A-Class. Same platform, but really higher seating position overall, and that's actually good. So to me, it's the most comfortable Mercedes compact vehicle. I mean, yeah, together with the GLB, the bigger brother, of course, that is quite similar from the seating position in the front, just that the GLB will have even more legroom in the rear. But this is actually quite cool. You sit upright, you feel this is now like rather a grown-up SUV. Also, if you compare it to the predecessor GLA, which more went into the crossover direction. Steering wheel can be controlled up and down and in and out. Soon, when we get to another perspectives, more about these screens. You can see it looks like it would be one screen, but it's actually two screens. Soon again, more details. Steering wheel here on the left side, by the way, will be used for the cruise control. and also this thumb control for the left screen, right thumb control for the other screen, and here, for example, the volume jog. Now the interior overview. First of all, soft touch materials here, top part, even here, turbine vent style. So it looks pretty clean and cool. Also a little bit different here on the right area if you compare it to the B-Class. Steering wheel then with these bright elements. And I said earlier here with the right thumb, for example, to control the right screen, and you would use the left thumb if they wouldn't hold the microphone here for the left screen. It starts, by the way, with 7-inch screens each on both sides. The second option would be 7-inch here and 10.25 like this here. And then this is the dual 10.25-inch setup, the top setup. Even the smaller screen comes standard with MBUX, infotainment system. And the top one, of course, also has it, and also with the natural voice input, for example. We'll test it very soon. Levers still left here for putting in the gear, just put down for the drive mode, and left side then for the wipers and the indicators. Head-up display, soon also more deals to that and to the screens. First of all, here then, the AC unit, still menu, clicking sound. That's nice. Sometimes these buttons here do not seem to be aligned 100%. I'm not sure if it's even possible, but in this vehicle it seems quite okay at least. And the GPS looks like this. So actually quite fancy screen, as also responsive enough. And the CarPlay integration looks like this. Here we go. Doesn't use all of the screen, but I think that's also not too bad. So like this here, and this one here is also the optional Burmester sound system. And for a compact vehicle, this has really a nice clear sound. So is very expensive, yes, but if you want the best sound, I can indeed recommend it. A crystal clear view on these digital instruments, so they are actually quite fancy. And you can also change the views here, for example, with styles and display. There's, for example, a sporty view available if you prefer that. This has this AMG style. We also see it in the AMG cars. Other than that, what's also handy that you can put the GPS information right in here. So that's, of course, another good use for the digital instruments. And can also be put to full screen. And now to the rear. Let's see about that. So it's a very wide opening of the door, and also with a beautiful microfiber on the inside. Soft leatherette around, so this is a high build quality, pretty cool. Also same design then for the rear seats, and the whole form also reminds us of the B-Class, surely. By the way, this rear bench can be moved forward and backward if you have that option. Not in this very test car here at the moment. But then it would also go forward or backward 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches. So the same dimensions like you sit higher than in the A-Class. Interesting, right? Oh, I opened the fuel cap just by leaning on it. It's like you can hip open the fuel cap here. Interesting. So let's see. Get inside. And this, of course, pretty cool. More wheelbase than in the predecessor, and also more usage of interior space, so still a lot of knee room left, even though this is set to my driving position. Headroom wise, I can even still put a hand over my head, and again, even more if the panoramic roof would not be built in this vehicle. At the moment there, the shade is then closed. So, and you sit upright, very comfortable, is a very good family car as well. 435 to 1,430 liters is the capacity figure. Let's see what that does. Electric hatch we have here, and very well usable. So it's a slight increase. This is just an additional cover you don't have to use. Underneath here you still have more storage space. There's also subwoofer. So, and some storage here at the sides. That's possible. I already flipped half of the bench. There's also a ski edge available that you just flip the middle part. And this cover here, the top one, you can also remove. Now to engines, all 4 cylinders, and yay, hydraulic struts we have here. This is a GLA250, most relevant engine, turbo petrol engine, 2-liter 4-cylinder, 224 horsepower. optional with all-wheel drive. But there's also the smaller GLA200 1.33 liter 4-cylinder, 163 horsepower. That then the one from the Renault Corporation. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Mercedes GLA, here as a GLA250. This will be probably the most important engine worldwide for this car. A 2-liter 4-cylinder Mercedes engine. You remember, I told you earlier, the smaller 1.33-liter turbo-petrol engine would be the Renault-based engine. So this one in here, about the acceleration figure just below 7 seconds. So with all-wheel drive, as we have it here today, is a little bit faster. This vehicle here is equipped with the all-wheel drive, the 4MATIC system. Also available with front-wheel drive, the very same engine. All-wheel drive will be relevant, for example, for alpine regions, winter regions, so to say. For more pure city areas, it's not that crucial if you have it or not. So, but we have it here today, and as I said, a little bit faster, and the all-wheel drive distribution is actually quite interesting. So usually when we drive here right now, it is 80% in the front and 20% of torque in the rear. Adaptive cruise control we can set here, left side of the steering wheel, pretty good and easily to control. Well, about the fuel economy, this engine here is actually quite thirsty, so some 9 liters on 100 kilometers, have to calculate with that, so that's less than 30 mpg, definitely less than 30 mpg US, and maybe some more than 30 mpg UK, and overall that's of course not really good. If we go to the sports mode, by the way, all-wheel drive system changes from 80-20 to 70-30, and let's accelerate 65 to 100. That's it. And the sound was actually quite decent, and you see also the acceleration is quite decent. So this 4-cylinder engine does give us some nice performance. And again, I changed to the sports mode before, so we have a little bit more power at the rear wheels. That makes the car also feel a little bit sportier. Also, we have the adaptive suspension here built in this vehicle. That's an option, and let's say at the compact Mercedes models, it does not make such a big difference than with the compact Volkswagen AG models, like VW, Audi, Seat, Skoda. There, the adaptive suspension makes a massive difference. You should always go for it. Here with the Mercedes cars, if you have one of the bigger engines, which is also in this case here, or the GLA in general, there are, like with a lot of other compact vehicles, 2 different kinds of rear axles. One, like say, more basic one, and one more elaborated one. This here, the GLA, always comes with the more elaborated one in the rear already. With the A-Class, it depends on which engine size you pick. So you can also go with the base suspension and you'll be just fine. Yes, definitely. The adaptive suspension does make it more comfortable a little bit, but then you can also vary a little bit with wheel choices. Here we do have 20-inch wheels. Together with the adaptive suspension, it's still surprisingly fine. So I expected a little bit worse, but that's surprisingly good actually. If you want more comfort, or if you go for the standard suspension, definitely go for smaller wheels. 20-inch on the GLA, I think it's also too big, and a little bit more dampening from the tires is surely something that that would be more suitable for this car. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Mercedes GLA. So, biggest difference to the predecessor is this is now more of an SUV, whereas the predecessor was clearly a crossover. There's also a bigger difference than from the A-Class to this one. As I said earlier, they all share the same platform, A-Class, B-Class, CLA, and also the GLA here. And there's still some difference, of course, to the GLB, which is a little bit longer, can also house 7 passengers, and is just bigger from the inside. But this one here already has a very decent size on the interior, and especially this comparison exterior length to interior space, the same as with the B-Class. It's really very, very good. So you have a lot of space, especially also on the rear bench, although you still have a relatively small car that you can very well park in and out, very easy to control, easy to steer. The whole car feels very refined. It's very silent on the motorway, so it's definitely one of the best compact SUVs, no doubt about that, in the very different aspects. And pretty fancy as also for the MBUX infotainment system. The natural voice input is also one of the best on the market here at the moment. So, and of course, you sit higher than in the A-Class, so it's more comfortable, and even a little bit more comfortable if you compare it to the B-Class, but also a little bit more expensive. And that's the point. So many great things about this vehicle, but I also said in the end of the driving part, the fuel consumption is a little bit too high with about 8 to 9 at least liters on 100 kilometers. So you should get better figures there. But with all the particle filters nowadays, which are good that they have, there's more pressure against the exhaust system. That might be one of the reasons for that. Yet again, the overprice for the extras and so on, that can really be very expensive. So we have to see. Probably I would go for this engine, but front-wheel drive, because the all-wheel drive doesn't make too much of a difference then for this vehicle, unless you really need it. So you can maybe save some fuel, save some money for the entry price. So go for the GLA250 front-wheel drive, and then limit the option list somewhat, because, as I said, when you go for this car here with all these specs, it gets so super expensive. I told you that in the driving part at the end of that. And that's of course the second thing about this car. It's just too expensive. But that's what you have to pay then for one of the top in the segment. What do you think about the all-new Mercedes GLA? Please leave us your comments. So I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and see you next time.